Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Barrow speaking, and there are 3 things that I like to do. Okay, there are several more, but there are 3 things that concern this video. I like to read, I like to write, and I like to punish myself. Oh, of course, and review things as well, because if you've seen the title of this video, if you're wondering what Perissa Trotter is, or Perissa Trotter if you pronounce it differently, it is actually a fanfiction written by myself. Now, I've critiqued Musical Natasha's fanfiction, That Weird Frog. Well, I guess technically not really, I've just kind of blatantly made fun of it by singing one of the chapters.
Once Vixen Lou was at the Frog Fly Mall. Vixen Lou stopped and saw large Joey.
So I thought, you know what, that's not fair, because you know what, we all have to start from somewhere. And, you know, as of course you know, I have no shame whatsoever. I mean, I recently published a book that I wrote when I was 13 years old. I think the bar of shame is very, very low for me. With that in mind, I thought I would go back to what was actually my first publications, technically speaking. Namely, my fanfictions on Wattpad. Now, I'm not embarrassed to write fanfictions. In fact, there are some of them that I'm pretty proud of, and Perissa Trotter used to be one of those fanfictions. If you're wondering, the story consists of... and kiss. Yes, it consists of taking the stories of Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and moulding them into one complete mess. J.K. Rowling, the best-selling author of all time, if you don't count Miguel de Cervantes, which most people actually don't. Her stories have enchanted many, including myself, and remains my favourite book series to this day. Rick Riordan, someone who put countless hours of research and passion into his creations, and continues to produce them to this very day. In terms of world building, genuine teen angst or whatever, I think no one comes as close as this guy. So what to do to 2 authors that I completely and utterly respect and love the works even to this very day? Without further ado, on with the review. Chapter 1. The Role of the Supernatural in My Life. To say that I never felt special would be the greatest lie of my life. Yes, I've had the worst luck so far in terms of family affairs, school grades, and generally staying alive. But sometimes, just sometimes, something would happen that could only be explained by the most bizarre and incredible justifications. I don't have any issue with that first paragraph, actually. I think it's quite a good way to start introducing the story and kind of the mentality of the main character. As far as first paragraphs go, I think I've always done pretty well with them. I mean, I like to be as elaborate and as poetic as possible in them, so I guess, you know what, why not? If you're wondering what the chapter name means as well, The Role of the Supernatural was, that title comes from a series of essays that I would have to write in English literature somewhat around the time of writing this. So yes, it was all about the role of the supernatural in Macbeth and the Withered Arm by William Shakespeare and Thomas Hardy respectively. It was all about comparing and contrasting, and for some reason I thought it was a good idea to write the role of the supernatural as the stand for this one. Which, to be fair, I would not mind comparing these two in terms of the role of the supernatural. I mean, I love Macbeth, and the Withered Arm was okay, but these two... If we got to compare these in English literature, I think we would be doing pretty darn well. And by that, I don't mean the time when I was 7 and locked myself in the bathroom, flooding everything, and Aunt Prudence saw leaks coming out from the door, kicks it down, and finds me completely dry with no water on whatsoever. What's wrong with that paragraph is that immediately we have a grammatical mistake. So and Aunt Prudence saw leaks coming out from the door, that's fine, kicks it down, not kicked. So already, not only do I not have the narrator narrating in past tense for an account that takes place in the past, but it's not. But I keep the past tense throughout the rest of the story. which is taking place as it goes on. You know what I mean. So it's like a retelling of a retelling that's set in the present tense. What was I doing? Now that didn't go down well. Neither of us could explain anything, but I got grounded for 10 days. I get the blame for everything, see. Uncle Hubert and Aunt Prudence never seemed to take to me when... Uncle Hubert and Aunt Prudence never seemed to take to me when I came to their doorstep asleep age 1 after my parents died. I suppose they must have hated them, and that I resemble them in some irritating way. I knew for the longest time that if I ever wanted an answer, a quandary in my life, it was up to me to figure it out. As far as I can guess, it means I wanted an answer to the quandary. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Erasmus the Elf, and clearly people have found spelling mistakes in the finished product that I myself missed. But I went through it. I edited it and made sure that there was a few typos or mistakes as possible. I clearly just splurged this on the internet. Because otherwise, I can't explain this. Upon observing over time that my cousin Donald looks a lot like Aunt Prudence and myself, I deduced that one of them must have been Aunt Prudence's brother or sister. Of course, Aunt Prudence herself never accounted anything about this. Both her and her husband despised me asking questions, especially about my parents. They never even told me their names. But I rummaged through old family records, and it was when they weren't looking, and found out they were Dougal and Elizabeth Trotter. Elizabeth I just chose because why not? Dougal, I remember specifically why. I chose that because I just read an article on Professor McGonagall, which is actually relevant now because of the Crimes of Grindelwald, and it talked about her would-be spouse and fiancé for a day, Dougal McGregor. And yes, for some reason the name Dougal clicked with me. I mean, I called the cousin Donald, so why not? Where was I? Oh yes, bizarre and incredible events. I will say this: I do like the way that I have Perissa have her narrative voice. I think something about I guess it's like kind of meta almost. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but I like the way that I've done it. So you know what? Well done, me of the past. And you're wondering how old I was when I wrote this. I wasn't 13 like with Erasmus the Elf. I was 16. This was 3 years after Erasmus the Elf was first written. So why is it so much worse? Around this time, I was writing How to Escape the Universe, which... oh wait, no, that's a few months later. Only a few months later, I was writing How to Escape the Universe, which I still consider to this day to be my best material. So I'm not sure what's happening here. I guess that I must have improved between, let's see, this was March that I last edited this, so let's see. April, May, June, July, August, September. 6 months. In 6 months, I clearly improved dramatically. I was doing my GCSE English literature at the time, so maybe some of that rubbed off. Or a lot. A great deal, in fact. There was this one time, the day of my 11th birthday during the half-term holidays, I was expecting the usual rubbish from my guardians, like old socks or some sort of broken trinket, followed by a secret present from Donald and my friends at school. I received these as well out of pure routine. This year the presents were the new King Cone novels by H.P. Drunkyard, a childhood classic, a silver headband which I had to hide from Aunt Prudence, who likes safekeeping any jewellery I receive, and a set of foundation which I never used. Someone remind me later, I'll come back to that last one. I will come back to the King Cone novels. King Cone is not an actual character that you can buy yet. So around this time I was doing my Duke of Edinburgh volunteering at a place called Open Stage, which is owned by the Ivanano Theatre, which I'm actually going to see a panto today, so yeah, I guess I'll be going round the area soon. But in any case, I volunteered there, and for some reason, we did improvisations. That's not the rare part. For some reason, we came up with the character of King Cone, which was supposed to be this gigantic pine cone that was sat upon this row of chairs to make the throne of. and it was just a caricature of some Henry VIII type king. I'm not sure. And yeah, we just made fun of his of the general physique of this supposed character, and I know it became a reoccurring character throughout different improvisations. Every time those chairs were mounted in a certain way, there was one girl who would trash the throne to make sure we didn't use King Cone again. And yeah, you were thinking that King Cone was played by an actor who was quite slim and small, so it didn't match up with the gigantic pine cone vision we had in our minds. But that was kind of part of the fun of it. So basically, yes, HP Drunkyard was also a running joke at that same place of an author. So we'd have it so that we were staging different books based on works of HP Drunkyard. Think of a discount Dr. Seuss without the rhyme. What was unusual were, in fact, the cards. We odd and incomprehensible British folk, for some excruciating reason, love sending cards as means of holiday greeting or congratulation. If you ask me, I'd say it's time-consuming, paper-wasting, and ridiculously bizarre. Not as bizarre as what happened on this day, but I still don't get it. Christmas cards, birthday cards. In other countries, they're happy with presents because you just don't know what to put on paper. Believe me, I've been there enough times. If that isn't the most obvious commentary I have ever read, I don't know what is. Because that is definitely how I feel still about Christmas cards and birthday cards to this day. I mean, fine if you genuinely appreciate them, but why? That's why I do the Christmas card on YouTube every year and mention everyone in one specific place. Because if you can write the same Christmas card to various different people several times, then you can mention several different people one time. It's just the same thing. To Perissa on your birthday. Happy birthday? I read out loud. Donald pretending to laugh to amuse his parents. Lots of hugs and kisses. Kevin? I screeched. Kevin was this kid who didn't seem to get that you passed the age where it's okay to send friends hugs and kisses without starting rumours. There was nothing going on between us, I swear. If you're wondering, ooh, Kevin's got to be the very obvious love interest who comes back later. No, Kevin's not mentioned ever again. That's the last time I mention him in the entire story. There's 7 chapters of this and there's 1 mention of Kevin. This time, Donald really was laughing. I continued in a hurried manner. Love, birthday, love, birthday. But I got to one that was, get this, literally orange and wax sealed that read, Department of Olympus, Empire State Building, New York City, NY. To Perissa Trotter, 16 Underhill Avenue, Godalming, Surrey. This came all the way from the US? I hesitated. I'd never been to the US in my life. Why would someone write to me from there? Aunt Prudence gave a slight squeal and looked as if she were about to faint. Uncle Hubert gave a nervous laugh and snatched the letter from my hands. Must have been a joke, he sniggered, putting the orange envelope in the recycling. For once, I agreed with him. Who could it have been? Hermes? I mean, really? But that was just the beginning of the role of the supernatural in my life. And that's where we're going to stop today. There are 6 more chapters of this monstrosity. But to be honest, as far as I've seen, I read ahead and read all of these, and I thought, wow, this is terrible. I need to comment on this. But so far, it doesn't seem to be that bad. I mean, I know I'm critiquing my own writing from almost 3 years ago, but even so, I generally don't see much of a problem with a lot of this. I mean, yes, it's trying to mix in Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, but then that's the whole point of the entire thing. So yes, so the first few chapters are basically kind of combining the origins of Harry Potter and Percy Jackson into this new character, Perissa Trotter. Which, I mean, I guess is not done in the best way, and there are a few typos and some lines that I definitely would rewrite if I were to do this today. But overall, meh. It's alright, I guess. But let me know what you think in the comments. You might completely disagree with me. So yes, and on that note, you can check out the actual chapter in the description. And if you want to read ahead before I make the next videos, then feel free to do that as well, because this is going to be a 7-part series. Or maybe I'm going to continue it. Maybe I'll continue it and make it more parts. Yes, I think I could see that happening. But it's whatever you want, because as usual, I'm going to ask if you to leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. And on that note, until next time, farewell.